Hello friends, welcome to the new session. In this session, we are going to discuss about exocrine glands. Exocrine glands are those glands which pour their secretion through the ducts. On mode of secretion, or you can say the mechanism of secretion, we have divided the glands into three types: apocrine gland, merocrine gland, other name of merocrine gland is eccrine gland, and third one is holocrine gland. Let's first discuss about the apocrine gland. So examples of apocrine gland are mammary gland, ceruminous gland that is wax gland, and the sweat gland present in axilla and perineum. Your mammary glands and ceruminous glands both are example of modified sweat gland. In the recent examination of INICET or maybe NEET MDS, there was a question about mammary gland, that mammary gland is an example of which gland? So answer would be apocrine gland. So we have made a mnemonic for you to remember, that was AM. A for apocrine, M is for mammary gland. You can forget about wax gland and the sweat glands that are present in axilla and perineum, but you have to remember the mammary gland. You can't forget about mammary gland. You just have to be thorough with this fact that apocrine gland, main example is mammary gland only. You can forget about everything because these are not so important for your INICET or NEET MDS examination. This mammary gland is a best example of apocrine gland, and in most of the examination this is asked. So your recent examination was asking the same question, that mammary gland is an example of apocrine gland. So I hope this fact is clear to you, that mammary gland is example of apocrine gland. For the extra edge point, you can remember that ceruminous or wax gland is an example of apocrine gland. This is an extra edge point, and you can forget about sweat gland of axilla and perineum, that they are example of apocrine. But you have to remember that mammary glands are example of apocrine gland. This has to be on your tips. Whenever you was asked that mammary gland is an example of, you have to tell your teacher or faculty that it is an example of apocrine gland. So now we see how they pour their secretions. So as you can see that there is a loss of apical cell membrane, and this cell membrane covers the secretion, and hence the secretions are released into the ducts. You can see in this slide that there is a pinching of the apical portion of the cell, and the cell secretions, which are in red dots, are covered by those cell membrane or the part of cell that was earlier a part of cell. I think this slide is very much clear to you. If you guys have any doubt, you can put your comments in the comment section. The examples of merocrine gland are salivary gland, pancreas, and the most of the sweat glands of the body are belong to merocrine gland. And other name of merocrine gland is eccrine gland. So in this picture, you can see that there is a formation of vesicle, and secretions are released through these vesicle via process of exocytosis. Hence, while releasing secretion, there is no loss of cell membrane. So this is an example of merocrine gland. This was the picture that can be asked, or you can make the diagram in your 5 marks or 3 marks question. Now comes the holocrine gland. The example of holocrine gland are sebaceous gland and hair follicle. Sorry, I have written it twice. Sebaceous gland and hair follicle. Please correct it. That example of holocrine gland is sebaceous gland and hair follicle. So holocrine gland, as the name suggests, the whole of the cell disintegrates while releasing the secretion. As you can see in the picture, the peripheral cells are intact and superficial cells are becoming the part of secretion. The superficial cell, these cells are becoming the part of the secretion, and these peripheral cells are remaining intact while releasing secretion. So this is about holocrine gland. The example are sebaceous gland and your hair follicle. Now they were telling about sweat glands. So in this lecture we have discussed about sweat glands in two sections. One was in apocrine gland, that are modified sweat glands, that is wax gland and mammary glands, belonging to apocrine gland, and normal sweat glands of axilla and perineum also belong to apocrine gland, and most of the sweat glands belong to the merocrine type. So this is all about your glands on basis of secretion mechanism, and that's all for now. And if you have any doubts or queries, you can post in your comment section. And